Rena's story began in much the same way as so many other children and adults afflicted with mitochondrial disease. One set of medical symptoms after another, leading to appointments with one medical specialist after another, leading to mind-numbing laundry list of seemingly unconnected diagnoses, and no apparent solution provided for any of them. Then, if you're truly fortunate, you find a doctor who finally connects the dots and suspects mitochondrial disease. But the relief in finding an apparent diagnosis is short-lived. First of all, there is no gold standard medical test to confirm the diagnosis. There are a number of different tests that can be done, including some that are quite invasive, and in some patients, mitochondrial disease can be definitively confirmed. And in other individuals, test after test after test come back negative, but all symptoms still point to mitochondrial disease. Not long after Rena's birth, her medical journey started. In infancy, she was diagnosed with failure to thrive, and at 3 months, we were told she had mild cerebral palsy. Thus began years of physical, occupational, and speech therapy for developmental delays. And although she progressed, as time went on, she developed more and more medical complications, from the more common multiple ear infections to 2 surgeries, one for an eye muscle weakness known as Duane syndrome and another for palate repair, and to the just plain bizarre bright blue pallor on her skin, which was never medically explained. And although her pediatricians at the time chalked all these things up to just being Rena things, we persisted in feeling that there had to be a connection. There was just too much for it to be happenstance or bad luck. When Rena was 8 years old, her physical challenges increased and she seemed to be losing skills. Where she was once able to walk approximately a mile, she was suddenly unable to walk for more than 5 or 10 minutes without becoming completely fatigued and developing a fire engine red rash on her legs. She started having episodes of extreme lethargy in which this child with ADHD, who had been an Energizer bunny, suddenly was unable to get off the couch for days at a time. Finally, in January 2007, Dr. Mark Corson of Tufts Medical Center, a world-renowned expert in mitochondrial disease, gave us the confirmed diagnosis of mitochondrial disease. The journey to get to Dr. Corson was long and exceedingly frustrating, as we spent so many years with myriad doctors at some of the finest hospitals in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, knowing that something was wrong with our little girl, but all were unable to tell us what, why, or even what to do. Since receiving this diagnosis just 20 months ago, Rena's disease has continued to progress, affecting multiple organs, as is the case with Mito. In May 2007, Rena suffered a stroke-like event in which she basically lost her ability to drink and is only able to eat soft foods. She receives hydration through both a gastrostomy tube, a G-tube, and a tube that goes directly into her jejunum, a J-tube. Rena suffers from poor motility and neuropathy of her colon, which is very common in Mito patients, and she is hooked up to one of these tubes virtually 24/7, since she actually requires more hydration than would be normal for someone of her size just to be able to minimally function. Additionally, Rena has fluctuating blood pressures, which is swing both dangerously high and low, together with sinus tachycardia. Dysfunction of Rena's autonomic nervous system is notably affected and is becoming progressively worse. Once a child who loved to play outside for hours at a time, Rena now has extreme heat and cold intolerance and is unable to regulate her body temperature, and is therefore unable to be outside during warm or cold weather for more than a few minutes. At school, more often than not, she spends recess indoors with her personal nurse instead of outside playing with her friends. As time goes by, Rena experiences metabolic crises on a regular basis in which her entire body and muscles become completely fatigued and unable to do more than minimally function. Rena's a child who loves school and once had almost perfect attendance record. Last year, Rena missed almost 60% of the school year due to being in a metabolic crisis, and is now on a 4-day school schedule, hoping that a midweek break will enable her to increase her attendance rate. But on a good day, many Mito patients appear perfectly healthy. What you don't see in this picture from a recent mini-golf outing just last month is that Rena was so fatigued that she had to be pushed around the mini-golf course in her wheelchair and only had the energy to stand for her brief turn in putting the ball. Only last year she would have been able to stand and walk the entire time. And in this picture, please note her backpack and the ultra-tween stylish handbag. These are her constant companions during the day, but not for fashion or school function. The backpack holds her feeding pump, which at that very moment and for 8 hours daily pumps hydration into her system, and the cute High School Musical handbag contains her emergency kit of items in case of a mechanical problem with her tubes or the pump. And then there's so many moments when she doesn't look so healthy. My wife Stacy and I could have never imagined that our visits to the special care unit at St. Christopher's Children's Hospital in Philadelphia would become so regular that the nurses and doctors there would recognize us by face and welcome us back as old friends. While the care we've received there has been stellar, it's one place that, to paraphrase the theme song from Cheers, we wish everybody didn't know our names. There's so little awareness about mitochondrial disease, yet mitochondrial dysfunction may be at the heart of myriad other diseases and maladies, such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, osteoporosis, cancer, and the aging process itself. Committing the appropriate resources to examining mitochondrial disease and mitochondrial dysfunction now could not only help to develop better treatments and diagnostics for mitochondrial disease, it could also help researchers to open a new world of medical knowledge and pave the way for developing better diagnostics and treatments for a range of other diseases, ultimately alleviating suffering and transforming medicine as we know it. This is not hyperbole or exaggeration, yet research into mitochondrial disease, as the representative mentioned, remains woefully underfunded. It pains me that so many world-renowned physicians, including even those who are specializing in metabolism, are either underinformed or indeed misinformed about this disease. This has occurred numerous times in our own case, and it is doubtless that as a result, thousands of children and adults never receive the proper diagnosis. While currently no cure or effective therapies exist, early diagnosis can help patients and their families use proper medication and nutritional supplements to improve the quality of life and prolong life. But the proper diagnosis is essential. As I noted at the beginning, my daughter Rena wanted so badly to be here today, but the physical toll on her just by the 2-hour trip from Cheltenham to Harrisburg could be enough to send her into a metabolic crisis. And she can ill afford that now as we prepare for another medical procedure next week, while we spend Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, not at synagogue in prayer, but at St. Christopher's Hospital, when a port will be implanted in her so we can have constant vein access to the hydration that her body requires. This procedure is especially crucial now that her digestive system shuts down every time she suffers a metabolic crash. When I asked Rena what message she wanted me to share with all of you today, she said it was that she doesn't need doctors or her parents to tell her that there is no cure or magic pill to cure this disease. She has an innate understanding of her body that few of us have, and she knows that her mito isn't going to just go away. Her medications won't do it, her G&J tubes won't do it, and her upcoming port won't do it. And she's really okay with that. Just this past weekend, Rena was blessed to have her wish fulfilled by the Make-A-Wish Foundation. She didn't wish for a meeting with pop sensations, the Jonas Brothers, or a trip to Disney World. She asked for a makeover of her family room where she spends days and sometimes weeks on end when in crisis. She wanted a room which would be fun, more comfortable for her, and where relatives and friends could comfortably keep her company. Perhaps most notably, she asked for her favorite expression, one she learned from a young man who ultimately lost his own valiant battle to cancer, to be painted on one of the doors in the family room for all who spend time with her to see and personally take to heart. Be positive. Despite Rena's myriad medical issues, taking over 19 medications daily, almost weekly doctor's appointments, periodic hospitalizations, extreme lethargy, and her constant school absences, Rena wouldn't want you to feel sorry for her. She has a phenomenal attitude, and finding a photograph of her in which she is not smiling is a near impossible truth.